You're listening to the Journey Podcast. Hypnosis is an amazing tool, but it is often misrepresented in mainstream media. In today's episode, we find out what hypnosis is all about. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. Today is part of Mental Illness Awareness Week in the US. The theme this year is Back to Basics. And for this bonus episode, I interviewed Barb Davies to explore the world of hypnosis. The word hypnosis can bring up a variety of reactions. Maybe you have been to a stage show and remember participants making a complete fool of themselves, or perhaps you have heard that hypnosis is used for mind control. There are certainly a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis, and in today's episode, we shed some light on what hypnosis is and what it is not. Barb Davies is a clinical hypnotherapist, social worker, hypnosis instructor, and coach. Having a lifelong attraction to entrepreneurship, she has several years of professional online marketing experience, and she is a co-author of 3 best-selling books with a 4th one in the works. By combining her interest in neuroscience and psychology with her business experience and passion for personal development, hypnosis, and meditation, Barb has developed her own thriving suite of brands. She's the owner of Barb Davies Hypnotherapy and Counseling, Healing Minds Academy, and Amethyst Wellness Group. Barb specializes in working with women to help them heal trauma, become the best version of themselves, and to create a life they love, all by tapping into the power of the subconscious mind. Barb lives with her partner Sam and his youngest son in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. Barb and Sam enjoy cooking together, traveling and attending sports, cultural and wine tasting events, and Barb is also an avid reader and enjoys golfing and camping. Here is my interview with Barb Davies. Hi, Barb. It's so great to have you on the podcast. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because we haven't spoken about hypnosis on the podcast yet. It will be great to explore that. Welcome to the Journey Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here too.
Yes, me too. And to get started, can you share a little bit about yourself and how you first became interested in hypnosis?
Sure. I am a social worker and I used to have a very stressful social work job, and a hypnotist helped me get over some anxiety that I was having at work. It was completely by chance. I was at an event down in Arizona, and it was the first time I'd been formally hypnotized, and I felt so amazing when I was in hypnosis. All the tension left my body. I felt so relaxed and peaceful. And he worked with me a little bit about the anxiety I was experiencing at work because I'd been threatened by a very angry client. And all my symptoms disappeared for about 3 years until another very angry individual threatened me. And some of the symptoms started coming back. So I saw another hypnotist, and again, I felt amazing. So I started studying hypnosis. I took a few courses, and eventually I had the opportunity to go down to the States and get certified as a clinical hypnotherapist. And once I was certified, I made a post on Facebook that I was certified in hypnosis and really excited about helping some of my friends. And all kinds of people started reaching out, and friends were referring friends. And within a month, I had to rent an office. So I started a part-time private practice, just kind of for fun. And within 2 years, I was so busy, I ended up quitting my job. So I've been in full-time private practice now for almost 3 years, and I just love what I do. It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great story. I'm so glad that you found hypnosis helped you because I also really love hypnosis and I like hearing the positive stories about it. because there are a lot of misconceptions out there about, what hypnosis is and what it does and what it doesn't do. So it's really great to hear some of the positive sides of it because I believe it's a very, very great tool for your healing journey. And do you want to go over some of the benefits of hypnosis? You mentioned a little bit how it helped you with your anxiety. Are there any other benefits that you run across in your practice?
I do mostly clinical social work. So I'm working with a lot of people with mental health concerns, a lot of people that have experienced trauma, that have PTSD, anxiety, grief, loss. But I mean, hypnosis is so powerful. I mean, it's changed my life. You can change your mindset. You can change the kind of thoughts that you have every day, the kind of emotions you feel every day, how you respond in certain situations. It's really great for habit change. There's over 12,000 peer-reviewed scientific journal articles that outline the effectiveness of hypnosis for hundreds of issues and challenges. So, I mean,
Hmm.
you can use it for so many things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually working with a local doctor in Thunder Bay, Ontario, where I live, and I'm developing a hypnotherapy program for his cancer patients. And once we get that up and running, then we're going to expand that and have groups for chronic pain patients and, maybe some anxiety groups and different things of that nature. But, hypnosis has been proven effective for, a variety of issues. IBS is one that it's used frequently for, or, any kind of digestive issues, which are usually linked to anxiety.
Hmm.
Yeah, preoperative, just getting ready for operations and after surgery for healing. It's used for all kind of high blood pressure, just all kinds of things, pretty much, because stress is such a factor in our health, right? So anything that you can do that helps you to manage stress is going to improve your health.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Really across the board, there are physical benefits, there are mental benefits, emotional benefits. So it's a great tool. Can
Hmm.
you maybe explain just sort of broadly what happens when you do hypnosis? Because, like I mentioned, there are a lot of misconceptions out there about what happens when you go and see a hypnotherapist. And so, can you briefly go over what it is that actually happens when people do hypnosis with you?
Sure. I mean, and I use a variety of techniques. So I use some techniques that I refer to as waking hypnosis. And that's where the client and I are sitting with their eyes open. And I don't formally hypnotize them at that time, but they normally, they would put themselves into hypnosis just by the nature of our conversation. Because everybody goes in and out of hypnosis several times a day very naturally. It just happens every day, including on the way when we fall asleep at night and when we're waking up in the morning. We pass through the brainwave state that's associated with hypnosis. So when I have clients in my office, we usually start out by talking to each other. And, often I'm using some conversational hypnosis and I use some techniques where we're doing hypnosis with it when they have their eyes open, and then I also use some techniques that are, associated more with how most people probably think hypnosis is, where the client is, reclining or lying down and they have their eyes closed and they're listening to me speak to them. And, they're following along with my instructions and suggestions, which, are the suggestions that the client has given me in the conversation that we had together. So it's a very peaceful, relaxing state. And, they learn because our subconscious mind learns best through images and metaphors and stories. We're walking them through maybe some guided imagery or things of that nature that help them change their subconscious mind, help them change their beliefs at the subconscious level, doing a lot of visualization exercises, visualizing them being the way they want to be. Our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So when we imagine something very vividly, our subconscious mind thinks it's real. So when you want to make a change in your life, you can visualize yourself already having made that change. And if you do that over and over and over again in hypnosis and also when you're awake, eventually that becomes your reality.
Hmm. Wow, that is so powerful. And I guess
Hmm.
that's why visualizations and hypnosis work really well for that positive change because we circumvent the filters that we put on every day that make us doubt ourselves or make us question things. And we really go around those straight to the unconscious mind and actually make the changes there. So it's very, very powerful.
That's right. Yeah, and it works a lot faster than trying to make changes with your conscious mind. So,
Mhm.
mhm.
Exactly. And there's a bit of a concern that I sometimes run into when I talk to people that have never done hypnosis before, and that is that they're afraid that something will happen to them while they're in hypnosis that they didn't agree to, or something negative will happen. Can you explain a little bit around that and how that works with the unconscious mind?
Yes, of course. There's a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis out there. I think most of them come from Hollywood movies that portray hypnosis in a negative light, but also most of
Mhm.
us have seen stage hypnotist shows. And, when you volunteer for a show, you know that you're going to be asked to do some ridiculous things up on stage to make the audience laugh. And as part of my training, I was strongly encouraged to volunteer for a show, and I did. And it was really interesting experience. So most of the tasks that the hypnotist asked us to do, I went ahead with, and I followed along. And I was kind of aware that it was my job to make the audience laugh. A couple things that he asked us to do, I didn't really want to do, so I didn't. What they do on those stage hypnosis shows is they start out with a large number of people up on stage, and they go through a series of exercises. And the hypnotist and usually an assistant or two are watching the people up on stage to see who's complying, who seems to be in hypnosis, who is following instructions. And the people that are not highly hypnotizable or that aren't following instructions get sent back to their seat. So he sent quite a few people back to the seat when I was up there, and there was about 15 of us left up on stage. And he told us it was getting really hot in the room. And, some people started taking off sweaters and looked like they were sweating and that type of thing. And then he told us it was getting really cold. And a strange man that was sitting next to me tried to cuddle up to me. And I was so uncomfortable, I snapped right out of
Oh,
hypnosis,
no.
right? So I got sent back to my seat, which was probably a blessing because, this was Las Vegas and the second half of the show was a little bit raunchy. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. But when you're in hypnosis, if the hypnotist tells you something that you don't agree with, you won't accept the suggestion. And, I trade hypnosis sessions with other hypnotherapists. And, sometimes they'll ask me a question that I don't want to answer. I think it's too private. Or if they tell me that I should do something and I don't agree with, I wouldn't accept the suggestion. So you're in full control at all times. Some of the Hollywood movies, they portray hypnosis as mind control and that kind of thing. Just, it's just a movie. It's not reality how hypnosis is. So
Yeah, thank you so much for explaining that.
you're welcome.
And as you said, there are a lot of misconceptions out there. So it's good to get to the root of it and actually talk about how people that are providing hypnosis and are experiencing hypnosis at the same time are really finding what's going on. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, you have three companies that you have you founded three companies, or is there three branches to what you do and how you work?
There's three companies, but one of them is under the other one. So, or it's being moved under the
Mhm.
other one rather. So, yeah, the first company that I started was Barb Davies Hypnotherapy and Counseling, and that's my private practice that I see clients online and in person. The second company is Healing Minds Academy, and that's my personal development company. I'm also a certified hypnosis instructor, so I set up that company to offer my hypnosis certification program. And I'm also developing some other online courses. So I believe by the time this episode airs, my Introduction to Hypnosis course will have launched. And yeah, I have some other courses that are coming up about self hypnosis, mindset, manifestation, all kinds of things. And a lot of the work that I'm doing with the local doctor in town here, the programs for cancer patients and chronic pain and that I will record and offers online courses as well.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
thank you.
And that's going to provide a lot of help for people that are in need of that. And
That's right.
with the patients that you work with and the local clients and your online clients, like how do you help them heal from trauma with hypnosis?
Well, I use a variety of techniques. I use hypnotherapy. There's a lot of different techniques you can use within hypnotherapy. And I also use the blast technique quite a bit, which is a form of bilateral stimulation. EMDR is also a form of bilateral stimulation, but what it does is it equalizes the hemispheres of the brain. So when we experience a normal event, we can think about the event rationally and we don't feel overly emotional about it. It's just kind of a normal experience that happened. When we experience some kind of trauma or a very upsetting experience, our emotions are very, very strong. We get very, very emotional. And the sensations in our body that go with those emotions are very strong, uncomfortable, sometimes overwhelming. And at that time, the thinking side of our brain is suppressed. So we can't think logically at those times because we're all in our emotions, right? So when a traumatic memory is activated, the same thing happens. So we get very emotional, the sensations in our body feel very uncomfortable, and we can't think logically about the event. So what bilateral stimulation does is we stimulate both hemispheres of the brain. I usually do it by eye movements, but you can use hand movements or buzzers or lights. And we stimulate both hemispheres of the brain at the same time that the client is thinking of the memory. So it's a little bit intense for a few minutes, but after that, you start to notice a big change come over the client, right? The emotions start to settle down, the sensations in their body subside, and they start to think logically about what happened to them.
Mhm.
So, we ask them to rate, how upset the memory is. When we first start, they're usually around a 9 or a 10 out of 10. And, by the time we finish, they're usually around a 0 to 2. And, they can think logically about the event, find some meaning in it, and come to acceptance. And then I also work with hypnotherapy. Sometimes the client wants to work through forgiveness or letting go, and different things like that, depending on the client goals. So there's a lot of different techniques we can use for trauma. I tend to use regression as a last resort, but I know some hypnotherapists use a lot of regression techniques. So,
Mhm.
it kind of depends on the client. I have a very client-centered practice, so I don't use a cookie cutter approach for every client. I, do a fairly detailed intake with my clients and find out what their preferences are and give them some options and proceed how they want to proceed.
Wow, that's amazing and so individualized. I really like hearing that you're working with trauma like that
Mhm.
and really taking each client as they come, just as the individual, and work with them from where they're at.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you also do coaching, and how do you bring coaching into all of that?
Well, hypnosis is excellent for things like peak performance, sports performance. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who want to, upgrade their mindset, sometimes get over public speaking fears. There's a lot of different things that you can kind of use hypnosis with coaching, right? I use a lot of NLP techniques, neuro linguistic programming, which can help people make changes very quickly. And a lot of those are kind of waking hypnosis techniques, I refer to them as. I teach most of my clients self hypnosis, by the way, as well. And we can help clients make any kind of change, right? Feel better about themselves, have more confidence, just upgrade their mindset, think better thoughts, feel happier.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to believe in themselves and believe in their self worth and how worthy they are, and whatever their goal is, to believe that I can do this and I deserve this.
Mhm. So the coaching together with the hypnotherapy actually sounds like a great combination
It really
for
is.
anyone. Mhm. And can you maybe share a practical tip for our listeners, something they could try or do in and around of hypnosis?
Yes, I love to share one of the simplest things I do every day. And this has really changed my life. So, I used to spend a lot of time meditating and doing hypnosis, but my business has become so incredibly busy. I don't have the hour a day every day that I used to.
Mhm.
And, that will be changing soon. I really want to get back to that. But in the meantime, there's 5 minutes that I spend every day that I think everybody can find the time for. And it's really life changing. So I mentioned before, when we first wake up in the morning, for the first few minutes, we're naturally in a state of hypnosis. So what I do is, when I wake up in the morning, I usually wake up before my alarm, but if I don't, I'll hit the snooze button just in case I fall asleep again. And then I just spend a couple of minutes and I visualize my whole day going perfectly. I just visualize everything I'm going to do that day and everything just, unfolding wonderfully. And then I say a few affirmations for myself. And sometimes it's something as simple as, today is going to be a wonderful day, or something amazing is going to happen today, or maybe it's something really specific about, what's occurring that day and what's on my agenda. And often I'll practice some gratitude at the same time. I usually practice gratitude at night before I go to bed, and I always set my intention the night before I go to bed. I visualize some of my future and do my gratitude practice at night. But, less than 5 minutes in the morning and less than 5 minutes before I go to sleep, I feel is life changing. And that's a little bit of self hypnosis, right? So when you wake up in the morning and you visualize your whole day just going perfectly, say a few affirmations, when you get out of bed, you've set your intention for the day to have a wonderful day. And it just feels so much better. Some of my clients tell me when they wake up in the morning, they immediately feel dread about all the stuff they have to do that day.
Mhm.
It just really just changes your whole outlook for the day. I've been doing that for several years, and I really feel like it's a life-changing practice. A lot of my clients are now doing that as well, and they say it's really, really made a difference in their lives. So that's something that really simple that everyone can do, and it only takes a couple minutes. So I think everybody can find that time in their day.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a really great tip. And as you said, everyone should be able to find maybe those 5 minutes just before they go to sleep and before they get out of bed in the morning.
Hmm.
So thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about what's next for you in your journey.
Well, I'm just in the process of launching my third company, which is Amethyst Wellness Group. And I had kind of been thinking about this for a while now, but I thought it was perhaps a couple of years down the road. But when I offered my hypnosis certification program, a few of my students asked if they could come and work with me in private practice. So that had been something I'd been considering starting, a couple of years from now, but they wanted to start right away. So I'm just in the process of hiring them all. And then I'll have 5 part-time staff joining me immediately to offer hypnosis. 2 of them are social workers and the other 3 are hypnotists. So they'll be helping me meet some of the demand because I have a waiting list right now and I just can't accommodate everybody who calls and asks for an appointment. Yeah, so they're going to be helping me in private practice. And, I've also made a couple other job offers. And the next time I offer my hypnosis certification course, I'll be, seeing who takes that and who graduates and see if there's anybody else who would like to work with me and who would be a suitable person to join Amethyst Wellness Group. So I'm doing
Mhm.
that, and I'm going to be offering a lot more online programs so I can help more people at a lower price point because not everybody can afford the one-to-one work, and I don't have enough time to see everybody that wants to work with me one-on-one either. So having some of the online programs I think will really help a lot of people. So
Yes, that's
yeah,
great to hear that you're expanding because there's a lot of people out there that are in need of your services. And it's great to hear that there's going to be more availability and also the online courses. So can't wait to follow when that happens and when that's all up and running.
thank you.
And we also have some bonuses for our listeners. And you can use the coupon code JOURNEY, JORNI, for $20 off the upcoming Introduction to Hypnosis course at Healing Minds Academy. And you can also mention this podcast for $25 off your first one on one online hypnotherapy or coaching session with Barb. Wow. Thank you so much, Barb, for making those available for our listeners. And we will be linking to all of Barb's offerings and the bonuses in the show notes as well. So be sure to have a look there for how to connect with Barb and how to find those coupon codes. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed the journey into hypnosis and coaching as much as I have. It has been fantastic chatting with you on the podcast, Barb. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And all the best to your expansion. And I can't wait to hear what other things you'll be up to in the future.
Thank you very much. I look forward to keeping in touch with you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Barb.
You're
Take
welcome.
care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please subscribe, share on social media, and leave us a review. And be sure to get your copy of our brand new ebook called Break Free. Sending you love and courage, and see you next week. Until then, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and the Journey blog.